It's an exciting day today, and I will tell you why in just a moment. Today is the very first episode of Bottom Tier, a Flesh and Blood podcast. We are super, super excited to be bringing this to you almost live from the beautiful offices we have down here.
Of course, almost live, meaning we
gorgeous Mesa,
had
Arizona.
Every interest in making this a video podcast right from the beginning. But with things to say, there's always a problem. And that's why we're the bottom tier.
Technology has stood up and smacked us in the face.
Yeah, we aren't both like directors of technology or anything of that nature. So
no, of course not.
No. Well, welcome to this podcast. You're probably wondering what is bottom tier. We had a great introduction from Greg. It's our first time kind of doing this, but we have recently, for the past 2 months, been into a hobby called Flesh and Blood, a trading card game.
One of the greats.
It's a great trading card game. It's fairly new, but we wanted to be able to just talk about this hobby and talk about what we think it is. And this is my first fun fact about me. My name's Matt, by the way. I guess you didn't just Matt. My name's Matt. This is Greg.
This is Greg.
But it is my first trading card game.
It is, which is super, super exciting.
Yeah.
Like, you've been a nerd for a long time now, Matt.
I've been a nerd for a long time.
And this is the first time you're actually getting into some card games that aren't just like standard card games. It's super exciting, and I'm glad that you brought me along on this journey with you.
Of course. I mean, you were trying to make me play Magic, and I said no.
A lot. You said no a lot.
We will play Flesh and Blood now.
We play a real card game.
But needless to say, it's opened up the door to other stuff. So we may use this to talk about experiences with other card games at some point. But for now, it's the addiction of Flesh and Blood. And what better opportunity than to start a podcast as soon as an uprising has occurred?
And truly, an uprising has hit. Guys, You know it, we know it, we all know it, we all are going to come to love it. But the uprising set is live worldwide this week, except in the United States, where it's delayed by a week because of import-export problems, which is just COVID. It just keeps on giving, man.
Keeps on giving, but that's okay. That's okay. We can wait one more week, because we had an amazing opportunity to do pre-release. And I think pre-release is happening this weekend too, but
I think so.
We went to pre-release. We weren't able to make it to Vegas. Again,
unfortunately, my heart.
Yes, but we were able to go to our local game store pre-release, which was a lot of fun.
It was a blast.
We opened up some packs. We sat across from each other, and one of us pulled a legendary.
Yes, one of us did.
One of us. It was me. And it wasn't the best one, but it was a ghostly touch, right?
It was, yeah.
And so I got pumped. I was ready to play me some Dramai. I was like, going to force Dramai.
Like 100% into it. And then, of course,
I drew 0 Dramai cards.
The cards had other plans.
So I was able to, I guess it's the moment to talk about it. And then we'll go to what we actually had scheduled.
I swear to God, guys, we had a plan.
We had a plan. But yeah, we did that. I ended up rocking Icelander. I thought Icelander was a really strong pick. Had a lot of blues, a couple ice cards. And but I also equally had the same amount of cards for Fi. And I remember a voice in my head saying, you should play Fi if you have enough cards for Fi. And I was like, yeah. And so I played Icelander like any smart person. And so my first game lost completely to a Fi. Second game was a mirror match. Lost really hard against Icelander. And then I said, you know what? Limited format allows you to switch your deck if you're able to another one. I'm just going to give Fi a try. And then I won every match after that.
It's amazing how well you can do in a format like this when you actually have a deck that's good.
Yeah.
Because clearly you ended up with Fi and you did really, really well. You went like 3 and 5.
I ended up going. I went 3-2, and I ended up being. I was 9 at the top 8. So like I almost top 8'd, and I was like, geez, that's the first time I've ever almost been top tier. Yeah. Because usually I'm always at the bottom.
Right. Hence bottom tier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did similar to you. I pulled some good Dromai cards. I got Dominia, and I got a couple of the other ones, Raise 'em All and things like that. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. I'm pumped. Let's do this. Because I like playing Prism. Like Prism is fun.
Yeah,
like,
Prism is fun.
Okay, we'll do it's Prism basically, but with dragons and a lot of Arcane Barrier. We can do this. Lost every time with Dromai. Built an Icelander. Lost every time with Icelander. Didn't matter how many Frostbites I gave him. Just Fi is too good.
Fi is great.
Too good.
It's very good. But also it kind of attests to like what your style is, right? And so one of the reasons, kind of going on this tangent of our excitement for Uprising, but one of the reasons we want to start this podcast was to talk about our excitement and talk about what we thought and like learned as we played Flesh and Blood. And so the first segment we came up with as we talked about bottom tier was lessons learned.
Lessons
and learned. I think this is a great segue from our pre-release on like what lessons we learned as players, especially being only a couple months in. And since I'm already going on tangent, I'll just start with it.
Tangent
right?
away, man.
Tangent away. Lessons learned is like when you find a hero you like, you stick with. Like you if you have fun, you play that. And I think that's my big lesson is Icelander isn't my cup of tea. Like Control and like doing all that wasn't a lot of fun, and it ended up being more difficult for me to wrap my head around. And of course, like I want to go back in and learn it, but it wasn't something that was exciting to me. When I have to ice fuse and think about that other thing, it's almost like having an extra card as a resource, and that vibes really well with a lot of people. But for me, it wasn't vibing as much. And then when I switched to Fi, I was like, look at how much I can do. Like I can do all this, and then it's like the end of my turn, and I feel great. Like I was able to,
I've accomplished.
I was able to rupture and do all that stuff. Good. All right, it's your turn.
We just played a game a few minutes ago. The CC Levia versus Fi. You were Fi, I was Levia.
Yeah.
And you got like 3 turns in a row or something where you got like an 8+ chain set up, which hell, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, Fi is a lot of fun, but it's like a time clock. And I think that's like, it's like the clock is ticking that you're going to die. And so you have to do as much as possible before you die.
Cause you really can't block a lot with Fi.
No.
Fi has like no defense. Like the meta is still super, super young on this, obviously, because it's not even formally released yet, but nobody's playing defense reactions or anything with Fi because the whole thing is about speed, right?
Yeah.
And you need a full hand or at least 3 out of 4 in order to actually start setting up those major chains. Otherwise, you pitch one thing for a resource and then all of a sudden, like you have nothing left to go on pretty much.
Yeah. And like playing in the pre-release, like the lesson with Fi was like you are just both going as ham as possible to the death. And so like you have to go. And as soon as one Fi starts defending, that's game over for that Fi because the other one's able to just be aggressive.
Pure momentum build. When you lose the momentum, you no longer have it.
And I think that's what's going to make Fi very scary in CC is like we don't have anyone that technically, like I've seen some one-hit KO builds, right? We have like one-hit KO Rhinar builds. We have one-hit KO Icelander builds.
Yeah.
One-turn KOs. But it's KO as far as like blitz, right? Like I can get 25 damage, which is huge in one turn. And that will be a knockout according to Blitz.
100%.
I would love if you watch this or listen to this for this instance, and you're like already you're like, oh, I know a video where someone got 40 points. I want to see that video like
right now. Send it to us.
Send it to us.
Email, tweet us. Tie it to a carrier pigeon and throw it out the window.
Bottom tier pod on Twitter at bottom tier twad. Bottom tier pod.
English, we know
it. Send it to us on Twitter. But I haven't seen anyone do a 1-turn KO on like 440 in 1 turn, right? And so for Fi, like you're just gonna like if you get hit for 25, you have a lot more turns to be able to do that. But as soon as Fi starts blocking, I almost feel like it's game over.
It 100% is game over because Fi's whole thing is play a card, go again, play a card, go again. It's just chip until the opponent gets to a place where they've either burned through their entire hand, so they can't do anything on their next turn. So you can just do the cycle over again, or they hold on to their hands like I did in a match a few minutes ago to try to set something up themselves and just here's 2 damage, here's another 1 damage, here's 3 damage, here's 2 damage. Oh well, we're rupturing this one, so we're going to get 9 all of a sudden. And like that whole progression of play during your turn, like that's how it works. You really can't do anything else with it, at least at this point. Nobody's figured out the meta to the point where we can play around with it. So really with Fi, as soon as you start defending, as soon as you start losing that hand real estate, that potentiality in your next turn, like you're done, man.
Yeah. And it's going to be like, it was interesting. I was able to play a couple blitz matches too. Like there's another lesson learned too is don't be afraid to, what is it called? I forgot the name of it. Print out your cards.
Proxy.
Don't be afraid to proxy.
Don't be afraid to proxy. That is a bottom tier top tip.
That is a bottom tier top tip. It is a broke tier top tip because this game can be pretty pricey. And before you start going in to build like a CC deck to be competitive, right? Like I recommend getting reps in with the proxies to see if you like the king cards. So,
right.
Yeah.
And it's super easy. You just Google Flesh and Blood proxy, like the first or second response is result is the one that you're going to want. And you just put your cards in. It gives you a printable format for them.
Yep.
And then you're not dropping $1,000 to build a hyper competitive deck that you've never played before with a hero who's brand new.
Yeah.
You get to experiment a little bit.
Yeah. And you, of course, can't play that at tournaments. Some LGSs are cool and will let you to be able to do that, but you won't be able to play that at tournaments, but at least it gives you a chance to be able to do that. So with Phi, because the cards haven't released, I was able to build a really cool proxy deck, and I was able to make it Blitz as well, which Phi and Blitz is a little bit harder because you only get 2 Phoenix Risings. Or Phoenix, that's what it's called. Yeah. Phoenix Risings. And then, I was playing against Katsu, and Katsu is actually a more defensive, like strong, big attack ninja, with combos. And so when you have ninja against ninja, I think that's going to really kind of see where the meta goes, because those new equipment, Shuko or whatever, the Tiger Stripe Shuko,
Stripes, yeah,
is going to affect those ninjas to do some crazy stuff. And I think that's going, like, it's going to be a ninja type meta, in my opinion.
The ninja pendulum is definitely swinging the other way. Whereas before there was a lot of rune blade action and stuff like that. I think ninja is going to be the next big one to take a look at.
Of course, we got to, like, speaking of rune blades, I mean, we have lost Chain.
Oh, rest in peace, Chain.
That was your child.
I love Chain. I loved playing Chain. I loved that whole, like, engine that powered him. I loved the banishing and the popping soul shackles and the whole nine. So much fun. But now you can only do it in Blitz, where he's really not that good.
I mean, he's still viable, but it's not as fun.
Dominant as it was.
Because you're versing Briar's like the King Rune Blade in Blitz. And
Briar's great.
Verisari used to be, but I think now it's just in CC. But I think we're going to see an uptick in Briar being used in CC now, because that's going to be, I think, the stronger Rune Blade, right? To be able to kind of go up there. And so it's really interesting to have this like new meta happen, because we had 2 Living Legend status happen, then Uprising's coming out, and then they're immediately Legend Studios is like, all right, we're gonna do a Battle Hardened in LA 2 weeks in, where none of you really get to know what this meta is gonna be, because we're gonna be alternating the whole armories with limited formats, which is draft and sealed decks and CC. And so you're only going to get 2 weeks of CC where no one's really going to know what's going to be top and really know what to counter for.
They're building the new meta currently, like with the Battle Hardens, with the armories going out.
Yeah.
Like, it's a beautiful thing, because like it's older, more like quote unquote established card games. Like, you take your Magic the Gathering or like your Yu-Gi-Oh or something like that. And there's only so much, wiggle room that you get in these sorts of things, because they have such broad runs of things, because they have to cycle cards in and out. There's a lot more active upkeep that has to happen, as opposed to a game like Flesh and Blood, where it's basically, okay, when something becomes too dominant, we take it out. But other than that, you guys can go crazy. Take from the first set, take from the most recent set, and have fun with it. And then, like you were talking about, the shakeup with having the new set coming out at the same time as the first 2 heroes are Living Legend and CC, like that is a massive change. Because like Stravo and Chain have been rightfully, as we see in their Ascension to Living Legend, like the cornerstone of Classic Constructor for a long time. Like, well, where was the last event held? Jersey, right?
Yeah. The pro, that was the pro. Yeah.
And
Chain won it.
Chain won it, but the final match was Starvo versus Chain.
Yeah.
Just like I think the last one was the same thing, like the big tournament that happened before that.
Yeah.
And like consistently you see those 2 coming up. So you're kind of forced into playing Chain or Stravo, or playing a direct counter to Chain or Stravo.
Like we saw with Prism, which is why Prism's Living Legend status is super high, is because there was a build just to take out Starvo.
Exactly. Meta and anti-meta. And then there's kind of the rest of us all kind of playing pseudo-meta, I guess.
Yeah.
Or just like whatever sounds fun or whatever we can cobble together. And like that, I think, is like, in the moments of this big upheaval, this big change, people who like need an established meta either to play in line with or to play against they're going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage here. Like the underdogs, the ones who just kind of play to have fun, like people with a more flexible sort of mindset around this, I think, are going to be really well positioned, especially with the new hero types and everything.
Yeah.
To really jump in and make a splash. So like right now is the best time to get in and to start just playing around with stuff.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I think that the Draconic Heroes, not that I think, but I think the Draconic Heroes are great. I can't repeat that. The
Not
Draconic
that I think
Heroes,
or anything.
The Draconic Heroes are perfect beginner heroes. And now it's interesting because it's maybe some people will argue with that because Dramai is complicated, but I think that deck shows a lot of how like management is. It's like a worker placement game. Like you're really playing on your own board, doing all this type of stuff of like, I need to build this up and kind of build a little empire, and then I can attack you really well and build some dragons. And then Ninja is just like, the cards are very self-explanatory. Just be able to play and just make things big and be able to do that. Yeah. Right. And I think they're very great starter heroes to really jump in and learn the game and learn some stuff from that way. Because I think 2 months ago, when I first started playing, it was really nerve-wracking and kind of irritating to be like, how come I'm not good at this game? And what you really have to do is play. You just have to keep playing.
That's ultimately how you do it. It's how you do it. With
you have to learn the heroes that way.
With Magic or with anything. Like you have to get your hands dirty. You have to build a couple of decks and you have to screw up a few times.
That's why don't be afraid to proxy all the decks. And when you're like having that fire passion, you just sit and just verse yourself with these proxy decks and then be like, I understand the mechanics of this hero. Because once you play behind the hero, you're going to know more on how to be able to counter that and know how to be able to do that. And that's what makes this so exciting is with these new cards, no one really knows a good counter right now. So I'm excited for us to really see that Battle Hardened happen and see the CC be able to go from there and kind of have the road to nationals all kind of happen at once with new everything. 100%. It's kind of cool that they're back to back at the same event too. So we're going to see the Battle Hardened and see who wins there. And I'm really curious to see if it's going to be pretty much the same person winning,
right?
Or a whole new different thing.
100%.
So it's going to be really neat to see that. Of course, with the heroes too, we have another hero. We haven't mentioned Icelander pretty much. We mentioned it in the beginning, but Icelander's out there. Icelander's going to do great things with all the frost, and it's been able to add. We're going to see a huge influctuation of ice too, because we're going to see Lexi and Oldhim more too, in my personal opinion, go up there.
Oh, Oldhim is 100% going to get a buff, and it's not like we haven't seen Oldhim recently. Like he's been around, but especially with what I think is going to be sort of the meta-defining hero that is Fi. Oldhim is one of the few heroes who can like shut him down.
Yeah.
Just stop it completely. And Icelander is a little bit that way too.
Yep.
But Icelander, the problem with Icelander is that it requires you to think about the game differently, just like with Kano. The Wizards in general, like it's not my turn, it's our turn.
Yeah.
Right? And that can require a big shift in the way that you think about the game, the way that you approach your deck building and your matchups, because you're no longer thinking just, okay, well, what do I do with these few cards and, trying to make the best combo. It's now I have to think about what I'm going to do and what you're going to do. So I can plan for this and I can have something chilling in the arsenal or something like that I can just whip out.
Yep.
So Of the three heroes that we're getting more content for or new content for in Uprising, Icelander seems like the trickiest one to me to make her fit in a place in the meta somewhere.
Yeah.
Because you can go like really hardcore control and just like build up the frostbites, freeze arsenals and stuff like that. But you can also do pretty good aggro with her too.
I mean, fire breathing is still going to be a huge thing that's played. We saw it a lot in the Blitz format, and when CC we're going to see it too, where people were able to kind of use those energy potions, use the time snap potions to kind of set up a major one-hit KO turn where they kind of use like a Tome of Fendel, get some health, use another one if they have it in their hand, kind of like luck of the draw, be able to draw up to like 8 blue cards essentially and dump all 8 of it in fire breathing to add +8 to that, which is really insane. So you're able to attack for about 20 damage just from doing that,
which is absolutely nuts.
So, or 8 blues, so that's 8 times 3. So what is that?
24.
24. So it's 24 damage,
Which is
great.
flipping nuts.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Provided you're the one playing Icelander. If you're not, if you're the one playing against her, then that's horrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Plus you're getting plus you get frostbites and have to discard cards before you can block that.
Right. So congratulations. We pitched the whole hand to play the one thing from the arsenal if it wasn't frozen.
Right. And then they get to destroy that. So it's really cool. We're going to see a lot of big shifts and a lot of different play styles with that control way. And it's going to be really neat to see. I think we're not going to see, I think we're going to see less. We're not going to see chain, which is great. But we're not going to, Mechologist didn't get too much love. I don't think we're going to see a skyrocket in brutes against Dromai, because I honestly feel that Dromai is going to have a slow rising into being the meta. I think people have to really learn how to play Dromai, but it'd be cool to see high level Dromai play now. In pre-release, I never got to verse a single one.
Really?
Yeah. So no idea anything about Dromai still.
Okay. Well, basically you just make a bunch of dragons. The dragons attack.
I know, but I was hoping to play one, but I just played Fies and Icelanders. So that kind of shows you that that's what people want to play, or that's what people feel like they get more comfortable building. So Dromai is going to kind of...
Some people really want to force Dromai because dragons are cool.
Yeah.
And because the card art is just really phenomenal on most of her cards. But she is really tricky to get. You have to do a lot of management. Once you figure out how all the threads kind of weave together, it gets workable. Yeah. But it's still really tricky between generating Ash, transforming Ash, and then invoking bigger dragons on top of that. It gets really tough. During the pre-release, I opened with Invoke Dominia in my hand, and Dominia is flipping great.
Yeah.
I love that dragon. But I had no way to generate the Ash I needed in order to actually invoke the dragon. So like 3 turns in, when this guy playing Fi against me has like another 7-card chain, and I'm just sitting there with Dominia on my freaking arsenal, like... That was fun. That was great.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's exactly why you pay money to go to these events, is to get your butt kicked by people that you didn't think were going to kick your butt.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we're called the bottom tier.
That's why we're bottom tier, guys.
I don't think either of us have made top 8 once. Nope. It was close. But other than that, like, we're stoked being at bottom tier because we get to run fun things. So a question I have for you, Greg, is maybe our listeners for our first one, if you're here, awesome.
All 3 of you, we love you.
Yeah, none of you so far, but but if you enjoy this, that's great. We want to let you know they should get to know us a little bit more. So what's your favorite hero right now?
Oh man, favorite for just playing. I'm still a sucker for Chain, man. I just really like Chain, like genuinely. Not like he's good in the meta and everything, which is super cool, but I like the way the engine works. I like the banish a couple of things, play out of the banish, use the hero ability to get go again, kind of linking all of that together. So Chain is super fun. I've been enjoying Prism a little bit. I've been trying to get my Dash together because I think that Dash could really like be an upset if you get it set up correctly. The biggest problem there is that it's you flip a coin. If you get the right hand, then you can't be stopped. Yeah. If you get the wrong hand, then you can absolutely be stopped and will be very quickly. So it's a little bit of a tricky one, but honestly, like I haven't really played a hero, and I've played a lot of them at this point, not all of them, but a lot. I haven't really played one that I haven't enjoyed.
That's a very good point. Like I agree with you. And I started the game playing Bolton as my CC, and I think Bolton, I learned a lot about myself because I don't enjoy. Bolton's kind of more of those warriors where you're like, I set up, I charge, and I wait. I set up and I charge and I wait. I set up and I charge and I wait. I have pulled 2 Luminas, and now I am ready. Like it's just kind of like I have charged, I am ready, and like Spirit Bomb is ready to attack you, and it's going to explode, right?
Exactly.
And that's really cool. But I don't think that was my play style. So I enjoy Bolton. That was my first hero, and I'll always have a CC deck for Bolton because Saber Bolton is really fun. But I think that my personal favorite here at the moment is I like those old ones, and I like Dorinthia. I like warriors.
Dory's fun.
I think Dory is really, really, really cool, and I'm excited to see more of what Dory has to, especially the classic battle stuff is going on. Sorry about the noises going on. I guess connecting to my phone through recording this audio is not going to be the best option, so that's really cool. But Dory being able to do all of that stuff and have the new the new specialization to add more damage to Dawnblade is going to be really cool to see if people play with that and go from there. And then my other favorite was KO. Roll some dice.
You do love
people
your KO.
sleep on KO, and that's why I'm in the bottom tier.
People sleep on KO for a great reason, because KO is unreliable as hell.
Hey.
But I will admit, having played a little bit of Brute, more recently, Brute's heck of fun, dude.
Brute is really fun. And like, I remember one game that we played with KO, and it was like, well, I rolled really well on scab skins, and now you're full hands intimidated, and I rolled really high and was able to like pull this off.
You two-turned me.
Yeah. It was not fun for you.
No, I had a horrible time. You seemed pretty happy.
I was like, this is really dumb, and I really like it. And I really like how dumb this is. So if that, now you know, I like dumb things. Fi is now my personal favorite hero. I think I'm going to be a Fi guy. So you might hear me talk about Fi a lot. But there you
we
go.
should get T-shirts that say
Fi guy. Yeah, we should get
100%.
Yeah, it looks like the Five Guy logo.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
So we've been talking for like half an hour now, and we haven't even told the good listeners
We haven't. Okay, cool.
who we actually are, or what this even is. We've just been yammering on about this random card game.
I guess so.
You want to start us off, buddy?
Who we are?
Who we are? What is our statement?
What is our statement? Play Flesh and Blood? I don't know.
100%.
Yeah. Our statement is, we're the bottom tier. We're here to have fun.
In every competitive card game, there are ultimately those people who get way too serious about it.
Yeah.
And just like with anything, there are some people who are hardcore into it and they make it their entire lives, and that is cool. We are in no way, shape, or form hating on those people or throwing shade or anything like that. What we're saying is that that's like 5% of the population. There's already plenty of stuff out there for that 5% of the population who's really hardcore about it. But for the players like us who have, regular day jobs and lives outside of things like this, who have to focus on things that we may or may not want to and not spend all of our time playing cards as much as we'd like to, where's the resources for us? We're just the everyday people sitting down and talking about something that they love and having a good time with their buddies.
Yep.
And that's why we're here, my friends. We are the bottom tier. Between us at this last uprising thing, I think we got like 4 wins and 3 of them were his. So, and that's pretty standard for most of our appearances, at the various, events and whatnot.
And most of them, usually it's a buy.
Usually it's a buy. Yeah.
But like you're right. Like we are here to have fun. And even though probably you listening to us for 30 minutes, you're like, man, this is 30 minutes of competitive talk of these two guys. And that's my fault, because I'm just really excited about what's happening in this game right now. Like Uprising has me really excited, but it is ultimately about having fun. And I never really experienced that with a card game before. That's why I've never really played one. And so it's a great, we want to be able to provide a source of like what our train of thought is as being casual, what we're excited about. I mean, we have like Legend Studios talked about creating a player versus everyone type game where it's kind of similar to Dungeons and Dragons, where it's not Dungeons and Dragons, or we're not getting like a magic like Dungeons and Dragons in that, but it's kind of like one game master being able to say, hey, you're doing this thing, and we have our hero decks to be able to do something. And I'm really interested in learning more about that. It sounds like so much fun. Yeah. Because Dungeons and Dragons is my other favorite thing. If I could have another podcast, it'd be a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. But this isn't Dungeons and Dragons.
We should talk about that later.
Yeah, later. For sure. But that's kind of like what we want is we want you guys to find a place, if you're like us, being casual, to feel comfortable, talk about casual things, and not try so hard.
Exactly. It's a game.
Try hard, but
I mean, try,
have fun.
But don't,
don't beat yourself up.
Like, exactly. You remember like in the early days of the internet, there was that viral video of the Magic the Gathering player who like just started screaming out of nowhere, like literally throwing tables over his shoulder. And you never saw that?
I never saw that.
It's I'll send it to you later.
I'll love it.
That's the kind of guy that we're not. We are not the guy screaming and throwing tables and stuff because some rando just beat us. We're the guys saying, oh man, that was so cool. Show me what that does. Can I read that card? Like, let's take a look at that. Like, wow, how'd you come up with this strategy? Like, that's what we're here for. And that's what we hope that you all come along with us for. Just a couple of nerds talking about nerd stuff.
Yeah.
Being buddies.
Yeah. I think that if you're here, you already have that mindset, because Flesh and Blood as a community is actually really good.
It really is, like, surprisingly. It's super welcoming. Everybody I've met in it so far has just been like really welcoming, honestly, is the best way that I can put it. It's very friendly. It's very open. And people, people laugh and enjoy themselves. Now, all that being said, the only things that I've been to have been at my locals. So I haven't been to, the major like pre-release events or any of like the Road to Pros or anything like that. So the experience there could be 100% different. But from my experience, it's been really generally low key.
Shout out Arizona Game Stores.
Shout out to Arizona Game Stores.
You're doing great.
100%.
At this 115 degree weather.
It's beautiful down here, guys. Beautiful. It's absolutely wonderful.
But I that's what it's really all about. And if you just share your stories with us too, and it's going to be really cool. What's next on the agenda, Greg?
All right.
You're going to be the agenda, Greg. Gregenza.
We're going to figure that out, and we'll get back to everybody with that, because I feel like there's something there.
Phi guy. Gregenda.
Chain gang.
Chain smoking gang.
So we talked about Uprising a little bit. Let's finish up talking about Uprising really quick.
Okay.
The bottom tier choice. Who do you think is going to be worse, Iyslander or Dromai? Because we've kind of like, I feel like we've sort of tacitly agreed that Phi is going to be like the standout of this particular bunch. So between the other two, who do you think is going to be better?
To be honest.
Be straight with me, Matt. Tell me how you really feel.
I think we're going to see Iyslander suffer the same thing Kano does. We're going to see Iyslander a lot, but Icelander's not going to be able to ever pull it off at the end, just like Kano. Which is really sad. Kano's great, but I don't think Icelander's going to do it, and I think Icelander's going to be more bottom tier. But I think what makes bottom tier 2 is the amount of people who play it.
Truth.
So I think that Iyslander, I already hear a lot of people are going to be playing Iyslander, and I already hear people, but I haven't heard anybody really excited to play Dromai.
I think people are going to sleep on Dromai for a little bit. I think they're going to take a look at it and be like, okay, that's cool in concept, but I don't really want to be juggling that much stuff every turn. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to go with something else.
Yeah.
So I think that they're going to sleep on Dromai, but I think in like a year or so, like once the meta's calmed down a little bit and people are really starting to get creative again with trying to find some counters for things, that the sort of mid-tempo is going to start reasserting itself a little bit.
Yeah. I think that Phi, like we're really stoked on Phi. We think Phi's going to do great, but we honestly don't know, because once Phi gets hit, it's game over. Like Phi could end up being dropped off really fast and not really going for it. Because if you like running against Bolton a couple times already, Bolton can wipe Phi out in like 3 turns if the cards are right.
So maybe we'll see Bolton start to get popular. Actually rise up through like the mid-ranking sort of area.
I don't know about that. But if Bolton does really good, like there hasn't really been anything to really give Bolton a shine lately. But maybe we might see some stuff for Bolton. But
hey, fingers crossed, man. Yeah. A meta shakeup is bottom tier.
Yeah, bottom tier. Bottom tier. As you can see, our logo is Azalea and Levia. That's just because that's the lowest living legend points. But maybe we should put Phi and Dromai on there now too. And
Levia is on the board now.
Levia is on the board.
And I was thrilled to see it.
So cool. Because Levia is a very interesting hero. Not to go back on that, but Levia having...
Interesting is a way to put it.
It's like the ability doesn't really do much for you. It kind of negates like the stuff you can put into your banishment, but like the ability doesn't do much because you put stuff in your banishment like with certain cards. So you could literally make a deck to never banish a card and be fine and like be okay with that.
Yeah.
But it's not the strongest card. So it's a really interesting ability that doesn't really give any benefit to a lot. And so it's just playing a game within your like your own side of stuff of card manipulation it's very interesting. A very interesting hero, Brute, and I like it.
Shadow Brute specifically, like like other Brutes, your Rhinar, your KOs, your whatevers, swing big, hit hard, go home. You don't really have to manage a whole lot outside of, keeping track of your resources and all like the very basic sort of stuff. Brute is not basic necessarily, but it's very accessible. It's very straightforward. Pick up the tree, hit the guy with the tree, you're done.
Yep.
But when you start adding shadow in there, it gets really intricate, like really fast. There are a lot of powerful cards that Levia has access to. But almost all of them have blood debt, which the more you have blood debt in your banish zone, the more damage you take at the end of each turn. So it doesn't matter how well you're playing. Eventually, you'll just kill yourself.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing there is really just management again. And like really that's what it comes down for a lot of these archetypes.
Yeah.
Is that it's really just keeping track of what's going on. But sort of managing that along with, pick up tree, hit with tree, continue on. Like that just adds a whole nother delicious layer to it, man. It's like it's like a parfait. You could just put yogurt in a cup, but then you're just eating yogurt in a cup.
Yeah.
And that's not fun. The shadow talent is a little granola on top.
Ooh.
Give you that crunch.
Yeah.
I don't know why this became about snacks all of a sudden, but
ASMR parfait.
Parfait ASMR. You know what? There's another thing that we can start to leverage.
Yeah, that'll be our first YouTube video, guys.
Right? Exactly. Just the two
with
of us.
With a picture of Levia.
Just Levy in the background, just kind of slowly zooming in and out.
Yeah.
Like she's breathing.
I don't know.
Yeah. I have no idea how to do any of that. So
yeah. Interesting.
Very good. All right, so let's double check the list here. I swear to God, we did actually plan some stuff out, and then we just got in here. We just started talking to each other.
I probably should have had it up, and I was all frazzled from not recording. But hey, first episode is meant to be weird,
right? Exactly. We haven't figured out the formula yet, Matt.
That's the name. First episode. It's gonna be weird.
It's gonna be weird.
Yeah.
He's Matt, and I'm Greg. By the way,
one more time. We did that a couple times.
We have repetition is how people learn. Okay, next up, let's talk about Road to Nationals a little bit, Matt.
Yeah, we did a little bit.
Let's dive in a little bit more, just specifically because this is bottom tier, and because we are less of an enthusiast product and more of a casual product.
Yeah.
Let's talk about being new to the TCG, and having this competitive season going, and some of the I guess Schadenfreude that comes with that. Seeing these people, go out, put all this money in these decks, put all this time into traveling to locations, and you go and you get kicked out in the first round. You lose like every game because inevitably that has to happen to somebody.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing that can be really daunting to some players.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, how you sort of make the jump from kitchen table playing or playing with a buddy at work or something like that, and not necessarily jumping straight into like nationals or anything, but sort of transitioning into starting to play in events and that sort of thing.
I really like this. I was actually thinking a lot about this, to be honest. I saw the Road Nationals, and what's really interesting about Legend Studios is it's not planned. It's really far out in advance. It's always like a month in advance. You hear the news drop of where things are going to be. And that's really daunting as a new player, especially someone who, I want to be competitive. I like having fun, and that's why we're doing bottom tier and being casual. But I also want to compete and have some cool stuff and do things like that. So I think really the start is, again, check out your local game stores and be able to play there and get to know the people there and start dipping your toe in that scene. And that's going to really fulfill you for a little bit. And the other part of that is, as you're there, make some friends and be willing to maybe meet up or meet with them on Discord and play that way. Another way I was able to find is there's actually a lot of people on Discord and who've made communities that do online tournaments or online play with no prizing. And it helps you learn the heroes to go that way too. And so I think that's the really good beginner thing before you go out there. Because like you said, we have jobs, you have to work. You can't just go take off and go do a competitive card game. If you can, you're an incredible human being. And I think that's awesome.
Absolutely.
And one day we'll get to that point, right?
100%.
Hopefully. So when that time comes, when you're ready to make that jump, the next big event, you're like, I want to go. And I think that you shouldn't be disheartened if you show up and lose. So I've played competitively in other things, not just trading card games. I've been and done tournaments with Pokemon, the video game, right?
Yep.
And I think what's really cool about these companies is they're going to make sure it's a fun event for you by making sure there's kind of an event hall or things to do around to be able to play pickup games and other things like that. So even if you show up, you're going to be around a lot of people in the community that are going to be there with you, and you're going to have other people that drop off with you, and you can play some more games. You can go and see some of the artists. You can go and meet other people and get autographs of whatever you want, and be able to get your time and games in and really be able to show what you've done. Maybe you even make a trade or two to be able to up your game a little bit, and then it's going to be a good time. So no matter what, I think it's going to be worth the money and travel for that experience.
And like really these big events, like even if the primary point of it is to, you know, play the tournament and figure out who gets the invitation to the pros and all that sort of stuff, like all of that comes with a lot of stuff on kind of on the periphery. Yeah. Like I don't know if you do a lot of like, or did in the before times, do a lot of like comic book conventions or like anime conventions or anything like that. But,
I've done a few.
But it ends up always as the same thing. It's not just the core people there to play, you know, the cards competitively. It's everybody there selling artwork and everybody there, you know, selling food and doing cosplay and just hanging out and seeing what's new and what's exciting and getting into random little games on the floor tucked away in a corner somewhere because all the tables are taken and you really want to play with this person you just met.
Yeah.
So it's so much more than just, okay, well, let's see who's, you know, the best players in the state or whatever.
Yeah. It's not a big, like, you should never be disheartened on that. And you should always strive to do well, but you should never be disheartened if it happens. You're there to be able to have fun, and you actually make really good connections. Because I remember playing competitively in Pokemon again. I decided to do my first out-of-state tournament that way. And so it was in Pasadena, California, where this Road to Nationals is going to be. Not going this time, but I'm not going to this one, but you might see me on a future one. Don't worry, guys. But
one day.
But I was able to meet someone there, and we ended up really vibing and hanging out the whole time, and it was really funny. It was like the 7th match. We were both doing really well. We were 5-2. And we ended up being pitted against each other. And I was like, oh no, our friends are not merging. But we've been a consistent friend, like through social media and chatting and everything ever since then. So you get to make a lifelong friend because you're going through this like really cool, unique experience together where you may not know as many people, and you get to meet someone new and kind of go from there, which is really what being into a hobby like this is kind of all about. It's not just about the cards. It's just about the community that you get to play with.
Because really, any schmo could build a couple of decks and then play against yourself or enlist, you know, a significant other or a friend or something and, you know, get into it a little grudgingly that way. But really, when you get passionate about something, you want to be around other people who are also passionate about it. And things like this are 100% the way to go. Everything from your locals where only 6 people show up because they're the only ones in town who know about this card game. And came in from like 100 miles because this is the only local with the right stuff, all the way up to these big national events. So just really being able to celebrate it and being able to celebrate it with people who you are also celebrating it, who you don't have to worry, you know, are going to give you weird looks when you start talking about flesh and blood out of nowhere. Like that is an experience beyond compare. So really genuinely, guys, and this goes for us too, because we haven't been to any of these yet. Go if you can make it work. If you're feeling the passion, if you're feeling a little bit of a spark for it, go check it out. No one's going to force you to do anything you don't want to. You don't have to play in the tournament if you don't want to. Just go and check out, you know, some of the people who are there from the studio. Check out some of the people who are there representing locals. Check out some of the people who are there, you know, selling singles or selling, you know, custom made art of you and Dromai kicking Fi in the face. Like it could be anything. Just go and find your niche, man.
And it's worth it. Like it's a lot of fun, and I highly recommend it. So start small, go to your local stuff, go from there. And if you don't have a local thing, find a Discord community and be able to play. And again, my other advice is, I think what happens is a lot of casual players or people who are new to hobbies, or even younger, like they don't have the monetary means to be able to really get into the hobby. Sometimes, like to get the best deck ever, to buy Arcanite Skullcap, it is $100. To buy Phelan Spring Tuna, it is $140 right now on TCG Player, right?
Yeah.
And when you try to buy it from someone else, that's the reference they're going to be able to use. So with that, don't be afraid to proxy. Find people that are going to be fine with you practicing with that, and you'll get there eventually. And once you be able to get those steeple cards out of the way first, you then can focus on building out the rest of it.
Because really, frankly, like $1 spent that you don't get a return on in some way, shape, or form is $1 you wasted.
Yeah.
So don't waste money, guys. We all know it's a rough time. We're having a rough time too. We got your backs.
Yeah.
Play cards cheap.
Play cards cheap until you're able to be passionate enough to spend tons of money.
Right, exactly.
That's what I'm doing today.
I don't need all this furniture.
Yeah.
I do need Arcanine Skullcap.
Yeah. I'm going to go buy my Shuko like literally here in just a few minutes.
In like 15 minutes, yeah.
It's going to be great.
Well, for you, I'm not going to have fun with it. You're just going to keep Shukoing all over me.
Gee, that's going to be another shirt.
Shuko all over me?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
We're getting so many ideas.
Right next to, never mind. Let's continue.
PG-13.
What's next?
We're targeting PG-13. Let's talk about just some of the fun stuff. What have you pulled recently that you've been into? Like you got the Ghostly Touch at the pre-release. What else? Anything like special or exciting or anything?
What have I pulled? That's got me excited. Nothing's really. Besides Vi, obviously, the one thing that I pulled that got me hyped is I was waiting for a friend. I was really close to the local game store. I just stopped in and I asked how many, I didn't want to spend money on a box, but I asked how many boosters of Tales of Aria was. I've never pulled Tales of Aria. It's not really my jam, but I asked to buy the last 4 boosters inside that box. And I pulled them out and I got a Heart of Ice.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's a legendary, which is really cool. And I was stoked. So for a while in my mind, I was like, how am I going to utilize this Heart of Ice? What am I going to do with it? And bottom tier tip again, going to sell it so I can get, my Phantom Spring Tunic.
Bottom tier top tip, everybody. Cards are worth money.
Yeah. So if you pull something that you don't necessarily want, like you can sell that and go from there. What's really dumb is I sold a Mask of Momentum a while back and I need to go get another Mask of Momentum, right? Because I did not want to play Ninja until 5 came out.
Right. So things work in a cycle.
Yeah. But it's cool because it's kind of like if you decide to bite the bullet and get a box and you pull something nice that's more valuable than the box, you've made your money back and were able to get the equipment that you're searching for in another way.
Exactly. I just had something like that happen. I bought a Monarch box not too long ago.
Yep.
First legendary I've ever pulled, Carrion Husk, like 4th pack or something like that. Just right there, ready to go. It's like $120 on TCG Player right now. So if I can actually sell it at some point, that will pay for box, which is super exciting. And then I can either, use that money for more cards or, watch.
Build a Levia.
Build a Levia worth anything. Yeah.
If you build it, they will come. Yeah, build the Levia.
Levia ASMR. We're back to this. All right, guys. We are just about out of time. Matt, do you have any final thoughts?
Greg, I really enjoy doing this podcast with you, and it's going to get better over time.
It 100% is going to get better over time as we figure out what the hell we're actually doing.
Once you get behind the mics, all of a sudden you're like, I am the bottom tier.
I actually have to do things now? That wasn't explained to me appropriately. How close does my mouth have to be to this stupid thing?
Guys, thanks for listening. You can follow us at Bottom Tier Pod on Twitter. We will have a YouTube channel as well. So if you're watching there on our second episode, you might be listening to this as the first episode as one of those cool audio things. We're going to be excited to be able to meet you and see you guys. Something we really look forward to doing here in the future on our YouTube channel is showing some gameplay of what we come up with on our deck builds and things like that. But also we want to be able to make sure it's a very casual experience and explained really well. So we were really going to focus on playing heroes that we're not experienced with as we try to fight our way through. And so you get to be extremely frustrated as you watch us be able to play, because we're going to be like, what's this rule mean? I don't know. And then we're going to try to explain to you what the rule is as we Googled search and then pin it up on there. So it's going to be a really cool experience of like learning all that type of thing.
Doesn't it sound fun? Doesn't it sound just like a great time?
It does. Because I think that's the best thing we could do as players is learn as new players is just to learn as much as possible by trying new things out all the time.
I agree.
So I think our first one should be an Uprising Bat. With our least favorite bottom tier heroes, Dramai and Icelander.
It should be.
You heard it here first, guys. So thank you for listening. Again, I am Matt.
And I am Greg, and my friends, we are signing off. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you back here real soon.